Hi there and welcome to today's Focus Friday. We will be featuring Curvy Celebrations, which has exclusive and early release products, part of which is only available through January 4th and part of which will be in our new mini catalog. Curvy Christmas, Quite Curvy, and Curvy dies are included in today's cards. The first card will be using some designer paper that's an exclusive release as well. Be sure and pay attention to the cutting edge because each cut gives either a curve with or without the dots. I'll adhere the designer series paper, and then I need to form my stamp to the curve. Nice thing about this photopolymer stamp is that it's very flexible and I can pretty much put it to any curve I want. We're going to be using shaded spruce ink here. So basically we're layering this card. So I adhered the DSP to the lower edge and then stamped, and then we're going to just layer the rest of the curvy cuts. Once I have them all adhered together, then I'm going to trim off the edges because they might be a little bit crooked depending on how you place them and use the curves. So then I'm going to emboss. So you use your embossing buddy first and then your Versamark, and we're going to be using white embossing powder. Then you heat, emboss the powder, and that gives it a shiny look. It has to be melted all the way. Then we're going to use one of the little birds from the stamp set. I'm just going to stamp it in black, and then I'm going to color it with my blends. I always use the light color first, and then I go over it with dark to give it some shading. And the blends are to use back and forth, so you use the light color, dark color, light color, dark color, alternating to give the shadowing effects or the shaded look. Then I will cut it with the die that comes in the set. Then we're going to give some snow effect. I'm going to put one drop of Whisper White ink on an acrylic block, and I'm going to spritz it. I'll use my water brush and water it down, and then just tap it to give the snowy effect. Now with the next card, I'm going to be making an alternative to the paper pumpkin craft. I'm using the paper, which is double-sided, together with some other designer or other cardstock, Cajun Craze and Mossy Meadow. I'm going to cut them in strips, and again, be careful on the cutting edge because you always get a curve, but you don't always get the holes on in your cut. So just wanted to show you also that I had taped, there's little things that pop out. I taped them together, so you got to be careful about when you're using it. If you want the holes, you have to work at getting the little pieces of paper out of the holes. Just use your piercing tool. Then layer up your colors. Then I'll stamp the sentiment with Mossy Meadow. And then I'm going to use the little bits from the paper pumpkin as embellishments. I'm using the Stampin' Dimensionals on both the layers of paper and the pumpkins that I'll be adhering to the front. Quick and easy card. You can make a bunch of these on just vary all the different colors, and they could all look different depending on what colors you use. All right, our next card, we're going to make a wreath. We're going to use the pine from the stamp set, from the Christmas stamp set. I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus, and we're going to use the deluxe foam mat as well as the template that I have made up. And my square is a 4x4. I'm going to put the stamp towards on the flat edge, and then I'll be using garden green ink first. And I'm just going to use it on the flat edges. We'll come back later and fill in the corner ones, and we'll use Old Olive. That will give it a real full effect, and the two different colors will give it nice variety. Now we'll be placing the paper in the corners. Then you go all the way around. The next thing we're going to do is, with using real red ink, we're going to make like berries. It's another stamp that comes in the set. Now, this stamp could be used for snow as well. Then again, we're going to heat emboss with white for our sentiment on this card. Embossing Buddy, Versamark, and embossing powder. Then heat. I'm going to use some ribbon. This comes from our holiday catalog. Just apply adhesive to both ends of it, of a little strip, and adhere it right next to the sentiment. Then I'm going to make my bow. I always make bunny ears and then tie it in a knot. Then I adjust the sides, or the size of the loops. Then I'm going to use a glue dot to adhere right next to the sentiment on top of the other ribbon. Then we'll start layering our card together. This is Garden Green. Then I'll use dimensionals for the back of the wreath. Now we'll use little strips of the Designer Series paper on both sides of the wreath, just to add another color. Our designer papers are double-sided, so you could use either side. I'm using the pine look so that it coordinates with my wreath. And then go ahead and put the sentiment on. And then lastly put on some bling. There you go, there's that card. Okay, now for our last card, I'm going to draw a line here so I can know where to put my color. I've already cut out my ivy leaves with my foil, and I just want to color my background paper using the blends, alternating between the dark and the light. And I keep checking to see where the color is, where I might want to add either dark or light colors. Ivy seems to be a mixture between light and dark greens, so I thought I could kind of make it look real. But you see how you blend and you don't get real sharp lines, just the colors kind of blend together with each other. Once I get it where I like it, I'm just going to go ahead and erase my pencil line. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with just jade. Allowing room for the gold paper, the gold foil. Then I decided to spritz a little bit ink. Be sure and just use the water-based marker for that. Otherwise your blend ink will it's pretty permanent. It will get all over everything. So then layer the card together. I would recommend not to use liquid adhesive on foil because it does give a bubbly look. So I would prefer, and I should have used the tear and tape for the foil. That's what I want you to use. Then just layer your foliage on there. I'm going to take a piece of ribbon that's in our holiday catalog and just use glue dots and fold it together onto itself to make a little sort of bow. And then I'll adhere it with a glue dot. And then I'll take one of my leaves that's cut out and embellish the top of the bow with one of the gold leaves. And then I'll use more leaves to embellish the top of the card. Thank you so much. There's our 4 cards, and Curvy Dies, Curvy Christmas, and Quite Curvy are the sets that we use today. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching online, be sure and like and share. Again, thanks so much.